What's up, CCH? I hope you're all having a great summer. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some of y'all soon at summer retreat, and if not there, back at school. As for me, I've been working at a Poet bioprocessing plant in Marion, Ohio. So we bring in a bunch of corn and we ferment it and then ship it off as fuel grade ethanol, and then some other co-products too, like corn oil and distiller's grains. So that's been pretty neat to work for them. I've been working on some automation projects, and I've also been working on some like general chemical engineering stuff for them, which has been very cool to see that outside of the classroom in an actual application. With that out of the way, we'll jump into the reading for this week, which was Proverbs 18 and 19 and Psalms 90 and 95. So starting with Proverbs 18, the things that really jumped out to me from there were verses 6 and 7, specifically talking about like a fool's lips and a fool's mouth. But also throughout that whole chapter, there was kind of that discussion of like wisdom, righteousness versus foolishness, and that type of destruction. Those verses 6 and 7 specifically jogged in my brain references to like James 3:10, which says, "From the same mouth shall come blessing and cursing, my brothers. These things ought not to be so." And Matthew 15, verse 18, "But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person." I think that just helps reinforce how important the words we speak are, which is definitely something I've been working on for the last year or so. Because like it says in Matthew 15 there, the words we speak come from our heart, and that defiles us as people. Proverbs 19, I noticed a focus here on like treatment of people, and I thought that kind of came down in the lens of like wealth versus poverty and that sort of like favoritism. It reminded me of James 2, which is a chapter about the treatment of people, and it kind of talks about how it's not right to treat somebody better because they have nice clothes or more money, which is definitely something we can fall into as people, and that favoritism is not something that we're called to portray as followers of Christ. A line that stood out to me overall from that was verse 24. That says, "The sluggard buries his hand into the dish and will not even bring it back to his mouth." I don't know why this stood out to me. It just kind of, it's not even similar to the thing that stood out to me about the treatment of people. But I don't know, I just like, I can picture a sluggard, somebody who's lazy and sloth, but then they're also like kind of sort of practicing gluttony in this verse because they have their hand in the dish, but they're so lazy they won't even bring it back to their mouth, and that's just kind of crazy to me. Like, if I'm sneaking my hand into the cookie jar, I'm definitely going to be pulling out a cookie. So maybe I'm not a sluggard, I don't know, but it's just interesting to me, I guess, how that would work. Psalm 90, just some verses that stood out to me. The end of verse 2 says, "From everlasting to everlasting, you are God." I think that just talks about how God is outside of time and that he's beyond time because he made time, so can't really be inside of it. That continues into verse 4, which talks about how 1,000 years passes in the sight of the Lord is one day, or as a night watch. It talks about like how quick for him 1,000 years would go by. Something you think like one day for us or a night for us, sometimes that seems long, but then when you think about it in the big scheme of things, sometimes weeks go by really fast. To God, that's like 7,000 years, which is crazy. Or 7,000 years can go by that fast. That'd be the way to say it. And then verse 12 mentally made me think back to the fools from Proverbs. And it talks about teaching us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I think that also kind of ties into the everlasting to everlasting. God is everlasting to everlasting, but we're not. We have a finite number of days, and we will only be on this earth for so long. So we have to make the most of that, and we have to be wise and practice that knowledge and that wisdom that God gives us and ask him for that discernment to what we put into practice in our life, because we have a finite amount of time that we'll get to experience life on earth. And then to wrap it up, Psalm 95, verses 4 and 5 stood out to me from this chapter, and they go, "In his hand are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are also his. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land." This really reminded me in a different way of the verse 2 from Psalm 90. Just talking about the sheer power and the presence of the Lord. He is timeless, and he's greater than the earth because he made the earth. And similar to how in the everlasting verse, he's greater than time because he made time. So that goes back to like the maker is greater than the works. So for instance, like somebody who built a really good building is better than that building because they built it. And so God, like he created the universe, he created the earth, he's got to be better than the earth because he built it. So the creator has to be better than the work that they've created. In that way, he's also greater than us because we are his creation. So I think this can help us take the right heart posture as we approach him. We see him as creator, creator of everything, creator of our world, creator of us. And then naturally what he created us in his image as well. So we have tendencies like him, but also he desires our worship. That is why we're servants in his kingdom, and that's why we're called to worship him. So thanks for reading with me this week. I hope you've been keeping up with the plan, and if not, it'd be a great time to catch up. I look forward to seeing you all soon, and I hope you all are having a great summer. Take care.